Here's my sample. How many times do you hoop something and you find out that you hooped it too low or too left or too right?
And I'm going to plug a past show. We did do a quick workbench on actual stitch area in the hoop.
It's smaller than
the
your
actual hoop.
It's smaller than, yes. Now, some of you have grids for your hoops. Some of you do not. This one did not come with a grid, and I didn't want to buy a grid. However, what I like, see these markings on this hoop?
Yeah.
That's a Sharpie.
And that's permanent.
That is permanent. I mark my hoop. And this mark tells me this is going to be the lowest I can go on a design. This is the highest I can... Pretend this is in here. Although you can use this again and again. I'll show you how I created this. But these tell me, look, this is a guide, Becky. Okay? When this isn't in here, I can eyeball how far away my design needs to be over here, how far I need to be up here. I know, just by looking at this hoop, this is dead space.
Mm-hmm.
So I mark every hoop with these little marks.
And for all you that are going to ask, why do they have the dead space? It's so you don't break your machine. If you jam your hoop or something, you've got a little bit of leeway in there so that you're not hitting the hoop with your needle, because it gets expensive if you ride over a hoop with the needle.
This I actually drew all around with a Sharpie too, because I can reuse this. This is done on a cutaway, and I can cut this out, and I can use it again when I'm doing any of my quilting or I want to line something up. But I want to show you how I figured this out.
So when you hoop this up, if you're going to use it again, you just line up the corner points?
Yeah, I would cut this out and put it on my fabric first.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
With my famous glue or my blue
Yep.
glue. Or I would stick it on my fabric.
So then you would cut this template out to the inside marking. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Which is what I was going to do next. But I want to show you how I got these points. So we need the embroidery machine for that. We need an embroidery machine, and we need, I don't have a threaded needle, just a blank needle. And once we come up, Brent, we're going to go into embroidery, and we're going to pick up one of their great big designs, because this is my biggest hoop. This is, once I take this out, I am left with a frame with marks that my brain easily can use to eyeball where my space is.
So what did you say you want me to put in here?
We'll go in embroidery mode.
Yeah, do we need the embroidery foot on there? Or are we going to embroider?
I know. Well, if it yells at us, we will, but we don't really need embroidery foot. We're just going to make marks. Okay, pick the butterfly. Are we on this camera?
So
while we're in there, can you go into settings? I want to show you something that a lot of people forget about. Go ahead and change our frame size to the 10 and 16, whatever, the biggest one. On the Luminaire and I believe the Solaris, this is just going to give us a square on our screen. It doesn't really do anything but give us a visual.
Yeah, and then so that's.
But I want you to turn on the grid too.
The frame size, and then grid. We can
put a 1-inch grid on it for me.
Okay.
Some people don't even know the grid's there.
Yeah.
But you've got a crosshair grid. So you can just, when you see the screen, you're going to see, I set it up as a 1-inch grid. Okay, so say set.
Okay.
Because we like that. Okay, so this is a good sized butterfly, as you can see. It's 12 and something by 10 and something.
Yeah, 12 and a third by 10 and a third.
Now what I want to do, it naturally comes up in the center of the hoop. Whatever hoop size you're using, it's going to come up in the center of the hoop. So let's go into embroidery mode.
Okay, we're in embroidery, so we're going to hit
Choose embroidery.
Yep.
Yeah. We can't really see. I want you to show the icons at the bottom of the screen. We've talked about the scissors and the tension one already. That's where we adjust tension or turn on and off our jump stitches. We've talked about the needle plus or minus one. That is where we advance or go backwards in stitches. I want you to choose the next one. Now, see how it's blue already in the middle screen there?
Yeah.
That's telling me my needle's in the middle. So right now, if I just had a blank piece of stabilizer and I dropped my needle, drop your needle. It's dropping my needle in the middle of what is the hoop that I have on.
Yeah. There we go.
See? Now what I did is I took a little Sharpie and I made a dot where it dropped its needle. So now, Brent, say okay.
What do you do?
I want you to say okay and come out of here.
Okay.
Now what we just did is we know that pattern comes up in the middle of the hoop automatically. We dropped it down. Now what I want to do is I want to move my design all the way to the top of the hoop. So we're going to return.
Well, you actually
Difference in edit.
you could do it under layout as well.
Well, we'll do it next time under layout
Okay.
then.
When it comes to moving,
Move it all the way to the top of the screen. Hear that click, click? Now I know I'm at the last stitching point of my hoop.
the uppermost.
The uppermost.
Yes.
So if I say okay,
And I just want to cover real quick. We moved it in edit, and because it's a single design, it only moved the one design. If
Right.
you had multiple designs in there, it would only move the design you have highlighted.
unless they're grouped.
Unless they're grouped. But then you can also just go into embroidery and layout. We'll move them all at once.
Okay, now choose our needle position again
Yeah.
and choose the upper middle corner. That's how I drop my needle
And then we
again.
drop our needle.
Yep. We're going to do a couple more. Now you have to move your embroidery design first.
Yes.
If I just advance to the top needle, keep in mind it's advancing to the top of my embroidery design. The reason this worked is because I said, Brent, move the design all the way up to the top of the hoop. Likewise, if you say okay, we can move it all the way to the bottom of the hoop. We can move it all the way to the left. We can move it all the way to the right. Tedious at first, but once I have this done and I draw on my hoop, I have it forever, and I'm done. And if I want to keep this, I can, but I probably wouldn't, to be honest with you.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead, okay, and then we'll do the move this time through the layout, very similar, and then we're all the way up, so we're gonna move it all the way to the right.
All the way to the left. That's the left.
Yeah. Well, stage.
Okay, so this is how I came up with the four corners.
And you just did that for all the different
yeah,
points.
Yeah. Now if you don't mind, take.
Can I just show another
Oh,
something
sure.
important? Something important.
Sure.
When you start moving stuff around, this button here puts you back at the center every time. Were you going to cover that?
No.
No. The reason that's important is because, say, you went up over here, okay, and you want to get this the middle point here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you come over here and then start to come down, you don't know where that middle is.
Push it to the center point again.
And so you go to the center point and then you move it over.
And that's why I like the grid.
Yeah.
See, I can see right on the
Yeah, you
grid.
can see
That's
yeah.
why I like having the grid on.
Yeah. And you can also, if you like just having that reference, you can also do something like that, which gives you just the
Which is our crosshairs.
crosshair.
Speaking of